What's going on, guys? Today I am joined by none other than Liam Holden, champion of the people, I have been told, in the area that he's from in the UK. Yeah, you can see him shaking his head. I was like, I have heard nothing but phenomenal things about this man, so I'm very excited to get his take and his thoughts today. Liam, thanks for being here. I'm super happy to have you today, man.
Thanks for having me. Nice to be here.
All right, so my first question has got to be, how did this name Champion of the People come about? Because I'm sure a lot of people are curious what's going on here.
So we're in the Manchester group where I'm from in the UK. We're quite fond of nicknames and giving people like taking the Mickey nicknames.
Yeah.
And originally the side event at Nationals was going to be £50 for Blitz, which is a ridiculous price.
Wow.
So I started to complain on Discord, and then they changed it from 50 to 40, and then they changed it in the end through other people like talking about it from Blitz to Sealed. So we ended up with quite a decent value event, and that's where it all
Okay.
came from. So I just started the talk of trying to get the event improved.
So you actually are a champion of the people, saving everybody's wallets, and on top of that, playing sealed's a lot more fun than playing blitz, in my opinion. So it sounds like a total win-win in that regard of things.
Yeah, I think Blitz is definitely a touch and go format for a lot of people. I enjoy Blitz actually, but I'm a Aurora main at heart, so
Okay, so you're probably aware, but Aurora has a very close place in my heart as well. I love Aurora, and I don't necessarily dislike Blitz. I think I've found this like lane where I like would rather play CC or draft or something like that. But I don't dislike Blitz. I get that though. Um, okay, so before we actually talk about your deck list, tell me a little bit about your hero selection. And as someone who is going to play Victor at Singapore, I'm very interested to hear your thoughts. But a lot of people consider Victor to be in a bad spot. Like not in like the best position with a few matchups in CC. So tell me what drove you to pick Victor for UK Nationals.
UK Nationals tends to be quite a illusionist and ninja heavy area.
Okay.
So naturally, the front point was going to be Syndra Prism for me,
Hmm.
at least in the top three decks, and Gravy being the middle one. And I was like, I wasn't quite sure which order they were going to lie in, but Victor has very good matchups into Syndra
Hmm.
and a very good matchup into Prism,
Hmm.
especially if you play Midas Touch, which we'll get onto later, as a anti-loop tool, so they can no longer loop you anymore.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I picked that. It's also a comfort pick. I'm a big Guardian stan from when olden days. I played a lot of
Okay.
Bravo, played a
Yep.
lot of Victor, so it kind of felt comfortable. And there wasn't really another deck that I wanted to play other than Kasai.
Okay.
And the reason why I didn't play Kasai was I was worried about the Syndra matchup.
Okay.
It felt iffy to me. Like, it felt like it was like one like high roll away from just never being able to win. But I found a lot of people told me that Kasai is really good into Syndra, so it's just different testing, I guess.
It's very interesting because I'm on the boat that Kasai is favored into Syndra, but I definitely don't think that it is the slam dunk that the internet would lead you to believe that it is. I think it's a very close game, and if Syndra gets lucky or draws pretty hot in certain situations, I think you can definitely lose. So I think people rely on Talishar data just a little too much when it comes to things like that in certain situations. Um, I've made a copy of your deck list here, and I've got your name, and it says that you finished 13th at US Nats, which you just informed me before we started this is one away from a World's Invite, which I imagine has got to be it's tough. It's a tough feeling, to be one away like that. But finishing 13th means that you probably lost your win in to top eight, if I'm guessing. Is that correct?
Is indeed, yeah.
Okay. What did you play for your winning in, and how did that match go?
I played against Gravy for my winning,
Okay.
and it's the matchup, in my opinion, is horrendous.
Okay.
I think it's the worst matchup for Victor right now.
Ooh, interesting. Okay, so thinking that Gravy is the worst matchup, and we can talk about this, more in depth later. But do you think there's tools or tech that we can bring to the matchup that might make it better than everybody thinks it is?
I think you can probably warp your deck enough to make it winnable, but then you're probably losing so much into everyone else. Like you can play what I think is it Chris Ayali was playing the performance bonus
Yep.
tech in the sideboard, which is honestly really good. Three go again from draw a card on hit kill an ally. It's fine.
Yep.
Then you can obviously go into the Midas touches, but in my opinion, Midas touch is quite a negative into gravy. So you get to kill your whaler, you get to kill your chum, but then you give them 6 gold to just draw their entire deck, set up an insane hand, and then they just whack you for 1 million.
Yeah, absolutely. It's I'm a big believer that Midas Touch is a trap into gravy of a card that I think that if you're playing that in Victor, it is like anti loop tech, kind of like you mentioned for Prism, and I do think it's very good in that spot because they don't make any gold in Prism, which I think is really cool. So there's a lot of value there with what that card can do, but I do agree it's not that great into gravy. Um,
Yeah, so I think it's just worth just going, you know what, put gravy in the corner. That's the matchup you expect to lose, and then just try and win everything else. It's fine.
let's hope I don't play against it and just try to beat everything else. Hey, I've been there. Sometimes it's what you have to say. I mean, everybody says that winning big tournaments, gym lottery has to be on your side, and sometimes that's just the answer, man. Sometimes it's just how it goes.
Sometimes you gotta get lucky as well. No one wins a tournament without a bit of luck. No one.
100%. I'm so happy to hear you say that because I am a firm believer in that. Um, So actually, like transitioning here a little bit and taking a look at your deck, a lot of the things that like I see, like looking at some of this, are very like standard. I feel like most Guardian lists, especially Victor, have like the same like 70 of the 80 cards in their deck. But a couple things here. One, Miller's Grindstone. This is a weapon that I think a lot of people play, but I've kind of been down on personally in my testing for Singapore. So walk me through Miller's Grindstone and like what led you there.
For me, Miller's is basically the same as Titan's Fist, except the only difference is if you pitch Visit, which you don't want to do, but there is odd occasions where you do it.
Sure.
You're guaranteed 4, but
Okay.
there is some matchups, especially in the Verdance matchup. For me, Miller's is where it really shines because
Okay.
they they have to board E-pots in to Verdance,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of what you are as Victor, in case you flip over AB3 and try to fatigue them.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're aggressive and I play Millers into that matchup. I don't play Anathos.
Okay.
They have it always represents a decision for them to make. Is a pot on top of my deck? Is there a Burn Bear on top of my deck? Is there an Emeritus Scullion on top of my deck? Because they're the cards that actually kill Victor in the matchup. Nothing else.
Sure.
Shelling's great. Plow is annoying, but like those cards aren't what do it. It's the pots, it's the Burn Bears, it's the Emeritus Scaldings,
Mm-hmm.
and Miller gives them a decision to make, and it could be the wrong one, it could be the right one. You might get an extra card from hand, which then allows you to be more aggressive.
Okay.
They could block for 3, take 1, lose a burn bear, and you just saved yourself like 6 damage.
Yeah, absolutely. So you feel like Miller's Grindstone, and I'm sure it has, application in other matchups as well. But the
Yeah.
matchup where this really shines for you is inside of Verdance.
Yes. Yeah, yeah. There's just taking key cards away. It obviously has it's good into Syndra because you should never really lose a clash. It's good into Warriors if you can like dump Raising Armies off like top of the deck into Kasai.
Yeah.
It's like niche scenarios where they don't know what's on top of their deck, so they have to make a decision. And sometimes it's the right one, sometimes it's the wrong one. And making your opponent make mistakes I think, is a good place to be.
No, absolutely. I completely agree with you. So we're gonna come back to the Verdance matchup here in just a minute when we get to the sideboard because you have some very interesting tech in your sideboard for what I'm assuming is that matchup. So I'm very interested to talk about it. The next
Yeah.
card that I want to talk about is Tectonic Plating. Tectonic Plating is a card that comes and goes from a lot of the Victor lists. But you only have Tectonic Plating in your list. There's no Tunic in sight here. So walk me through like your idea behind playing Tech Plating in every matchup.
Tech plating is tech plating is weird to assess for some people because it's essentially your invest a resource to gain a resource,
Hmm.
and a lot of time you can just do that for 7 turns and just it never actually do anything. Then eventually you get like you hold a blue and you get to send a chokeslam off the surge.
Sure.
But for me, it's about the block value it presents because if you present Dominion and Tunic into a lot of people,
Hmm.
you can't really use your armor aggressively into Syndra, holding an extra card, into stuff like Verdance and Florin, where you get an extra block on your chess piece.
Yeah.
To be able to just shove it in front of a felon because they don't really have on hits, so you can just like save life, stay out of range from Arcane, and then be more aggressive.
Okay.
That's where I like the Tectonic.
Okay. Yeah. So really just trying to line it up for the extra fridge and then maybe some other incidental value here and there.
Yeah, essentially, like, a lot of people are like Tunic, 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 and there is only one combo you really want Tunic for, and it is the famous Guardian combo that is CNC Pummel.
Was like probably revolves around this card, I imagine, if I had to guess.
Yes, but, for me, that's the reason why I'm actually on 2 Pummel as a side, note is because I don't run Tunic. It can be more clunky,
Hmm.
so I try to run 2, but running Tectonic allows your pummel to be a bit more free. You can pummel a chokeslam, which is beneficial,
Hmm.
you can pummel a Crush the Weak, which is beneficial, but you tend to a lot of people tend to just sit on it for command and conquer, which I think is actually incorrect.
Okay.
It's good when it lines up, don't get me wrong, but sitting it there just for that combo, pointless. You might as well just be free flowing, use your pummels to discard card to gain, like, the tempo in the game, and use it to be aggressive.
Yeah, sure. I mean, like if you're holding yourself back, waiting for like one specific card, and 5 or 6 turns go by before you see a command and conquer, you could put yourself in a bad spot. You could have given up a lot of incidental value because you weren't aggressive enough.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I like that a lot. I completely agree. So I think, looking at this, a lot of this is pretty standard for the most part here, looking at the rest of this. I know some people when I talk to them have been in and out of playing Crush the Week. Crush the Week is a card that really stands out for me in my testing. I think it serves a lot of roles and a lot of different it's a very good like role player in a lot of different matchups. How do you feel about Crush the Week?
I think Crusher Week's phenomenal right now. It's exceptionally good into Syndra, which is already a good matchup, but it kind of like gives you that extra percentage. It's
Sure.
really good into Assassin
Mhm.
because everything is basically 3 and below, except for like CNC, you leave no witnesses.
Mhm.
Um, it's actually really good into Earth because they can't plow you. They have to block
Okay.
if they want to send a plow. So it's like it's really good into the Assassin and Syndra matchup, but then has like the occasional hit. It's good against Gravy. It stops them on all the 9 tipple swell lists.
Okay.
So, like, you can stop all that, so it forces interaction. So I think it's a really good card right now.
Okay, yeah, no, I completely agree. I love this card. I've been enjoying it a lot. So I was curious to hear if like after your Nats run, maybe you had a different feel, but it sounds like you still feel like you're still pretty high on Crush the Week.
So I had like I think I would recommend anyone playing Victor to play 3 Crush the Week at minimum. That's it. Just play the 3.
Yeah, no, I I like that. I think that's very good advice for anybody looking to play the deck. Um, so there's a couple cards here that are I'm not gonna say like they're pretty standard, I guess, but they're one of them is particularly new to the Victor deck over the last 6 weeks of us having the high seas come out, and that is Riches of Triple Donny. I've heard commonly heard this card referred to as Pot of Greed lately. I don't know if you're a Yu-Gi-Oh fan or not. But tell me about this card and why you think it's become such a staple of Victor.
I think this is arguably the best card in the deck right now. I think Victor is the most beneficial deck of this gem. It's
Hmm.
absolutely ridiculous. There's so many ways that you pitch into Arcane, drawing a card, insane. Pitch into Flexes, insane. Pitching for Staunch, so good. Using it to another reason why I like Tectonic Plating because you can just start your turn, make a surge, draw a card, see what your hand is like,
Hmm.
and then progress from there. So it gives you information, and then obviously the Pot of Greed, which is pitch into a gold, draw 2 cards.
Yep.
It allows you to do so much. Again, it makes rouse a little bit easier because if you're like on a 4 card hand, your 3 blues and your riches, it allows you to pitch into a goal, draw 2 cards, allows you to rouse, and then rather than just going hammer, you can normally do a big attack afterwards,
Sure.
which is where your bigger value turns come in.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think this card is great. I have not had the chance to pitch it to Staunch Response yet, although that does sound awesome. That
So
sounds
so
phenomenal.
so good into KO.
Oh, I didn't even think about that, but yeah, Rich like pitching that for Staunch Response sounds really good. Um, a lot of Victor lists for a long time, I felt like we're trying to slim down on blues. Like I think a lot of people were down to playing 30 for a long time. And traditionally Guardians have played a lot more blues to try and make the curve work, like Bravo, Oldham, like you talked about earlier. But your list goes back to being on 33 blues, which I feel like adds a big leg of consistency to the deck that like, we were kind of missing on a certain level with that 30 blues. So walk me through your decision for 33 blues and why buckling blue.
So 33 blues, as you mentioned, I think is down to the consistency.
Mhm.
I there is Victor is a tempo deck at heart. It's a guardian deck with a bit more oomph, and it wants to be on the front foot and using Tester Strength and Trounces to basically keep on that while blocking and being aggressive.
Hmm.
So I think I wanted 33 blues to remain consistent, so I was less bricky. Obviously,
Okay.
it's a card game. Sometimes you just draw 4 red hands. Sometimes that happens.
Sure.
The reason why for Buckling Blow specifically, I think, is for Prism. It is a popper.
Okay.
That is, and it helps rouse consistency being a 6 because 6 is better than 5 naturally.
Okay, gotcha. So being a pauper works into having Rouse back in the deck, and which I'm so excited that we can have that back in the deck now. And then I mean, also like it just some incidental value with it being a 6 and clashing works out pretty effectively there. So yeah, I was on 30 blues, admittedly, until I saw your list. I took a lot of inspiration from your list for what I'm currently working on for Singapore. But your 33 blues has been phenomenal. Like that consistency that it's added is really taken the deck another step above. So I'm a big fan of your 33 blue tech, and I'm very glad that we're back on there right now. It's helped a lot.
Really happy to hear that. I think if just in case anyone's watching this deck and wants to go, I want to play 30 blue. I would actually drop Wallop before I drop Buckling Blow for the reason is it's a 6 for Rouse and Prism.
Interesting. Okay. So I have to say, I'm a little surprised to hear you say that because I think Wallop has become like a mainstay because of, the potential clash effect that you get. But cutting Wallop makes sense. It's probably the worst card in our deck.
Yeah, quite literally. I'd love another 6 to put in there instead, but
Yeah, no,
not possible
absolutely.
right now.
I think we all would, right?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. So we've talked about like your main 60 here that we have. Let's take a look at our sideboard here because I think your sideboard offers a lot of like really intriguing questions. We can really spend a lot of time here. So the first card on the list that, I have traditionally told people to stay away from playing Guardian is Oasis Respite. But you seem to really like this card and it seems to have a good place in the meta right now. So walk me through Oasis Respite.
So originally I had 0 Oasis, probably about 2 days before the tournament.
Oh, wow.
I was also on just an AB1, and I was
Okay.
like, I'm on just dodge gravy and just dodge all the wizards. And then I played into a player in the UK, content creator called Scott Mines.
Yeah.
Um, so he was playing Verdance for me, and I was figuring out, can I fix the Verdance matchup with a few sideboard slots because I didn't want to play performance bonus and it was all dedicated to gravy. So I was like, I don't want to play that matchup, so I'm just gonna try and find more percentages elsewhere.
Okay.
So we were playing the matchup, and I was like, that's where I figured out they have to board pots into you, but they have to decide whether they're full committing to pots in that matchup,
Mhm.
or if they can go into a I walk you down, you walk me down, eventually I kill you with burn bear your turn, burn bear my turn.
Mhm.
And the matchup was going that way. He was playing a pot, I was being aggressive because I played Crown Dominion, Small Hammer, and Aram Aegis to make my Goldmane estates bigger
Mhm. Yeah.
and more consistent. And I side out Trounce just as a sideboard, but the Oasis was coming in clutch because I was able to park it during the late game, and then when we were walking each other down, I could present. They would try and burn bear me, and it would be like AB2 Oasis, stop the 6 entirely, and then that
Okay.
puts them out of range on their turn, which then allows me to be back on the aggression. So I'm not
Okay.
like hammer 4, hold 2 cards because I'm scared to get killed by Storm Striders.
Mhm.
It's a
Yeah.
case of I'm gonna stop that, be aggressive. You have to now block, and we end up in this fair game where like your 2 card hands just don't beat my 2 card hands because I'm just way more efficient than they are.
Okay. Yeah, no. So I really like Oasis Respite a lot for a lot of the reasons that, you mentioned. I know a lot of people who have been playing the Verdance matchup as like we're gonna walk the life totals down and like we're just looking for value here and there. And then this card seems to fit really well in, that spot that you were talking about. Um Do you feel like there's a world where Oasis Respite can also save you from like the pot combo like style, like if they get the whole thing set up? And I just ask because the full combo when they have like 3 or 4 pots in play is worth like 30 or 40 points or something crazy. Like it's a ton of damage they can throw at you. So do you feel like the Oasis Respite works there as well, or just like in this value oriented walking the life totals down game plan?
think it's specifically in the value walking down. I think if they get too many pots out, it's the combo is too big.
Okay.
Unless for some reason you ended up playing the entire game and stayed at like 40 life, then obviously you can really stop that. But I would I would only use it. I think you have to side it in anyway. So I would if I can see that they're doing the pot plan and only the pot plan, I
Hmm.
would probably just use my Oasis a bit more liberally just to get it
Okay.
out because I'm like I need to be more aggressive and like free up my arsenal. Whereas like if you're on the walk down bit and they're like burn bay again, you can stop it, or if you even pulse an eighth is fine, I think, to use on this.
Yeah.
So just finding the spots to use it and making sure it's like you're getting good enough value, but that it's worth the time. Because again, like stopping four of like it's also a bit awkward because there's no tunic, and I
Sure.
feel like that's gonna be one of the questions. It's like you're playing Oasis with no tunic. Well, that's why it's specifically AB2 and not AB3. Is because it fits the cost curve in defending arcane four
Okay.
into two. So I think if you wanted to go AB3 and another Oasis to make the matchup probably better, you would have to find room for Tunic in the matchup.
So, I to add on to like your sentiment there, I actually agree with you. Because I feel like pitching a blue to AB2 and Respite is very, very powerful, and it works well against Burn Bear. It works well against like Pulsing Aether, like the taller spells that Verdance is looking to get value against you as. But it is very clunky to have Respite in the deck, especially without Tunic. Sometimes, and so hearing that if you wanted to play a third, you would be on Tunic makes a lot of sense. Because it feels almost kind of necessary at that point. Like if you're trying to get value in those situations from there. So I like that. I like that a whole bunch. Yeah, the Oasis Respite was great tech, and I've really enjoyed it in my list ever since. Moving on to
Worked
our
really
next.
well.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just saying it worked really well on the day, so I was happy with my decision.
How many Verdants did you play in CC at UK Nationals?
Two, and there was
Two.
only five in the room.
That is so unfortunate. Did you win both of them?
I won one, and the other one was unfortunately Scott, the person who I tested against.
Oh,
So he knew
so
exactly what was going
they
on.
knew it was coming.
Yeah,
Okay. All right, that works. Moving on to our next card, we kind of mentioned earlier when we were talking about Riches of Tropeldani, talking about Staunch Response. I think a lot of people see this as a Guardian Mirror tech in the sideboard kind of thing, but I'm sure it has other applications for you. So where do you see this card getting the most value in your matchups?
so obviously the first and foremost is the big D reactor, the Guardian mirrors.
Hmm.
Super important. I think being able to just like block golden suns for 10 and being able to stay on like the aggression.
Hmm.
It's also really good against like Old, for an example.
Hmm.
The only other place I would bring it in is actually Azalea,
Okay.
and whether or not that stays relevant from now on is a different story. I think if Azalea LL'd and I think I could win Guardian Mirrors without a big D react, I probably wouldn't play any of them.
Okay. Fair enough. So you feel like the major sore spot for this is to help you shore up the Guardian matchup,
Yeah.
which I think makes sense. I think a lot of people who are, Victor lovers, Victor stands are going to completely understand that. Um, and this does do really well into Azalea. It can really help a lot, even from hand. Just being able to block a ton can be very, very valuable. So that makes sense. And you also mentioned the value that you get from staunch response when you pitch Riches of Triple Donny to it, which I imagine in the Guardian Mirror is an insanely good tempo play, keeps you so much like so far ahead. I feel like
Yes, agreed. Being able to just go like block with essentially two cards by pitching one, playing one, then replacing it, and then being able to go like make a surge size, spinal crush, Arsenal pummel for an example,
right.
is I think it's really good front play. Oh, the other matchup I forgot to play, I play this into is actually KO.
Okay, yeah, I I think
No other
makes a lot of
brute,
sense.
just KO.
Well, I think I was going to say I don't think I'd played into Rhinar just because like having this intimidator from your hand feels so bad, and I'm sure if somebody watching this has been there, I think we've all been there at some point. But yeah, this into KO feels really good. When you were playing this against KO, were you looking to just play this from hand? Were you trying to set it up in Arsenal? Like, what was a play pattern you were looking for against KO with Staunch Response?
Bit of both. I think if they're not on like an agility turn, it's fine to play it from hand. If
Okay.
you've got like a decent threat in Arsenal, like a chokeslam, which is kind of relevant versus KO with all his mites.
Mhm.
Otherwise, if it can, you can also set it up into Arsenal for the same reason. If you only want to pitch a card, block with Staunch Response, hold 3 cards to be aggressive against him is another. So it kind of works both ways. But usually, if you want to try and get it into Arsenal, you're blocking quite a bit, and
Okay.
you're relying on a 1 card play from Arsenal to be able to get it in,
Mhm.
because you don't want to swing Millers versus KO.
Sure.
It is rough.
So I'm imagining there, like if you're looking to try an Arsenal Sauce response, which it sounds like there could be situations where that could be very relevant. You're probably looking to have something like a Command and Conquer or like maybe a Surge and a Choke Slam coming off so that you have that, block 9. I'm going to throw my 1 card 8. I'm going to throw Command and Conquer, disrupt you a little bit, set up my staunch response, and then we'll just look to play the next turn.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, awesome. I like that. The next card on the list here really needs no introduction. I feel like this has been a Guardian staple since I've been playing the game. Where do you like this card, and like what matchups do you feel like this gets the most value at?
Again, I think its most value is definitely into Guardian.
Hmm.
I like it into Prism, being able to kill a Angel and a Aura at the same turn.
Yep.
I really like it into the Earth Heroes because it just allows you to, if they just arcane you, it's another way to be able to use every card in your hand. Also, just applies a lot of pressure. But weirdly enough, I only play Anathos into Guardian. I do not play it into the Earth Heroes.
Okay.
So it can be a little bit worse, Zealous, but if you're because of Tectonic, it allows you to do like Zealous into Spinal Crush or like Zealous into Chokeslam
Hmm.
off 2 blues. So like it's still a really efficient card and allows you to be aggressive and disruptive at the same time. It's not just about the old Bravo ruling where it's like Zealous into Anathos.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So I want to ask you about this here in a minute, but this is a pretty good like transition here. Anothos. So like a lot of people have been playing Sledge and Tunic, over the last like I would say 6 months to a year when I've been seeing people play like Sledge has really been like a mainstay. And you're bringing back tectonic plating in Anothos, which personally I love to see because I have a cold full Anothos that I want to play. But you just mentioned that you only play a Nothos in the Guardian matchup. So like that the only place you play it in?
It's literally the only place I'll play it.
Okay, so even in a matchup like KO. So Miller's Grindstone does not get a lot of value against KO. In fact, I think you just said that you never really want to swing it. So is it more of just like a prop? It's just kind of hanging out there against KO, like the Miller's Grindstone in the matchups like that?
Yeah, it's quite literally just sat there until we both end up really low life,
Hmm.
and then my Miller's is now threatening lethal, that's when it actually becomes quite relevant because then they have to keep blocking it basically.
Sure.
But until that point, I'm trying to be like big attack, block, big attack, block, big attack, block, and eventually like walk each other down because
Hmm.
I play the full fridge into KO.
Okay.
So it's like I have the shield, I have my Dominion, tectonic plating really does a lot of lifting because you can not scared to put your tunic in front of something like a CNC
Hmm.
that's threatening a pummel that you really want to get out. So I think that's why I play Millers into everything except for Guardian.
Okay, awesome. I like it. Um, we touched a little bit about this earlier. Midas touch. I know that you had two in your sideboard, and we talked about the value you can get out of this into Prism. Um, I know you mentioned that you feel like it is a trap into Gravy Bones, and we kind of talked about that a little bit. Did you feel that way at UK Nationals, or were you playing Midas Touch into Gravy Bones at UK Nationals?
I played one gravy and decided that I was not playing it. I was just like, nope, we're going face. Not
Okay.
killing anything relevant and just going face. And hopefully we hire all enough together.
Okay. Listen, I'm here for it. Sometimes you just got to get lucky when it comes to bad matchups. You just made the comment that we're just gonna go face and just high roll. Do you feel like having Midas touch in the deck might have given you the room to win that matchup, the one game you played?
No, definitely not.
Okay. I,
It was not close in the slightest.
I didn't think your answer would be yes, but I figured I'd just take a shot in the dark. Maybe, 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 maybe. Maybe.
You never know until you ask, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Another card that's really made a resurgence in your deck here that I've, been testing a little bit myself is Crown of Providence. I think a lot of people, when we talk about the armor suite, a lot of people have been on Aura Magus and they've been on Tunic for just so long that like getting out of that rhythm and kind of changing it up, requires a little bit of a different thought process. So walk me through Crown of Providence because I know you mentioned a matchup or two where you play it. So how did you like Crown of Providence and where are you looking to get value out of this card?
I really like Crown when I'm planning on blocking a lot, like blocking with my armor suite a lot,
Hmm.
but to the point where I'm not too fussed that my gold main estates isn't my win condition.
Okay.
So like on the opposite angle, we have like the Earth Heroes, where I believe that you have to make giant gold main estates to be able to push a lot of damage through their defense, and that's how you win the game.
Okay.
Against something like Assassin, you don't need the gold main estates. Your deck is disruptive enough that you can play the fair game, use your armor to gain the tempo, and then be able to kill someone. So like Crown giving you an out versus CNC versus Leave No Witnesses is great. I like to play it into decks like KO and Rhino
Mhm.
because again, Intimidate is an annoying mechanic, and sometimes 2 health is just worth more than being able to play the gold main estate. Because like against Rhino, against KO, you're siding out trounce.
Mhm. Yep.
So you might as well take the mulligan and the Arsenal hate dodge card. Just take
Sure.
it in the matchup and then use it as 2 health is quite valuable. So
So it sounds like the two life is really where you're wanting to lean on this, and it does like have some like protect me from CNC, protect me from random other Arsenal hate cards. So it just has incidental value in the matchup, but it really sounds like that two life in those grindy matchups where we're like blocking and trying to throw 2 card 8s and things like that is really where we're looking to get most of the value there.
yes, I also play this into Prism. I don't play Dominion into Prism. I play Prov because it allows me to Arsenal a really bad card and allows me to get it out or to fix a hand if the board's being too much. So I can like sink away my Zealous belt in and then draw another card, or to free up a blue that I've had to put in my arsenal, get rid of it, and that allows me to do like a Zealous into E-strike into kill aura, and allows me to deal with the board rather than like just sitting there having a gold. Because again, the side out trounce into Prism, there's no point in having the extra gold for the gold main states because that's not your win condition in the matchup.
Sure. No, that makes a lot of sense. And like, I feel like this could also randomly get value as like and a good equipment piece into like a late game hero of your edition. Something would dominate, like maybe we have like an awkward hand pulled together. So like I feel like this gets a lot of value. Um we've talked about pretty much every card on your list that I feels like stands out here. Is there anything that you feel like I skipped over or something that you wanted to talk about that maybe I didn't touch on?
No, I think most of the deck is quite stock. Like you said at the start,
Hmm.
a lot of them, like 70 cards, are probably the same. It's just a little few different choices here and there. Do you want to play the Tunic? Do you want to just be? Do you want to play Titan's Fist again? The safe hammer. Do you want to play a different blues ratios and stuff like that? So I think it's just down to what your local meta is and what you want to tech towards. In a PT, a little bit harder. I think
Sure.
you have to kind of go for the first 2 rounds are probably a little bit of the Wild West because even if it's a Pro Tour, you can still get a random dude that's decided I'm playing Teklavos, but once you start to go up, you need to dedicate your deck to beat the more popular heroes like Gravy, like Syndra, like Prism.
Sure. No, that makes a lot of sense. And it does sound like from what you were talking about that your list is very tech towards what you feel like your local metagame is, and what you were expecting to see a lot of. So it makes a lot of sense, looking at your deck and everything. So yeah. But man, congrats on 13th. I know that being right outside that world's invite has to sting just a little bit, but man, 13th is still a heck of a run, man. It's something to be proud on, especially in a format playing a hero where I think a lot of people are saying that Victor is just unplayable and just not able to be can't win with it. So, dude, congrats, man. It was a heck of a run.
I appreciate that. I think I got very unlucky.
Okay.
I got 6 bad matchups. So I queued 2 Verdants, which is still
Hmm.
bad, but again, I think I kind of fixed it. I got 2 Acilio, which is a very bad matchup.
I was like, that's not a good matchup either. Jeez.
I Akita Reiner, which
Okay.
happened on stream. If people want to
I
go,
was like, I saw that one.
that was a very good game. I would recommend people watching that. And then obviously I lost my winning into Green. So
So was that all of your CC games? Let's see, what was that?
yeah,
7 of them? Okay. And you guys drafted twice?
yes, twice.
Okay, nice. I mean, it sounds like, finishing 13th with the heroes you played into, brother, sounds like, you had God on your side that weekend.
Yeah, we had a bit of luck. Being able to understand, even though it's a bad matchup, being able to understand bad matchups can get you a long way. And then obviously I think the thing that gutted me the most is if I win that the winning in, there was a Syndra next to me which I didn't queue, and my top 8 would have been Prism, which would have been extremely
Oh,
nice just to go in and just slap the Prism and go and get top 4.
oh man. That's so tough, man. I hate that. Um,
That's gem parents for you.
One thing you did bring up here that I want to talk about, you talk about Acilio being, not a good matchup, and I completely agree with you. I think Acilio is very favored into Victor. How do you feel like into Acilio? Were you playing Oasis Respite, or what's the plan into Acilio?
Still working on what they think the optimal play is, but what I went with twice in UK Nationals was 0 AB
Okay,
and side out Trounce and just try and blow them up.
okay,
I was basically take out Trounce, play Zealous Belting for the same reason to the Earth Heroes. I just wanted to present more damage and try
sure,
and present more questions. And then just because the problem is all our on hits are just terrible versus Acilio. Spinal
right.
Crush doesn't work on their combo turn because Lightning Greaves is a hell of a card.
It is.
Crush the Weak affects the 9 blast list, but that's quite niche, I
Sure.
think, at the moment. Chokeslam does nothing. And CNC Pummel is our win condition. I think if we can blow up a gun in a flash combo, it gives us a bit of space to go kill them. But you just need to draw gold main estates quite early and just try and knock their head off as quick as possible, and accept that you're just in a race.
Okay, awesome. So 0 AB. I'm assuming we were probably on this suite right here, is what I'm guessing. You were on the main suite into Acilio, and you said you cut Trounce and you bring in the Zealous Beltings. I think cutting Trounce makes a lot of sense because it can be clunky at times because they're not always attacking you with things. So that makes a lot of sense. And you also touched on, just Command and Conquer being like the best card we have in this matchup, and I agree. And if you talk to Acilio players, they will even tell you that they won't Arsenal Gone in a Flash unless they have to, because they're trying to keep it in hand so that they don't get blown out by Command and Conquer. And it's a very heads up play when you think about it that way. So it's a really interesting take. What's one piece of advice you have for Victor players who are looking to, whether it's Singapore or, ProQuest coming up in a couple months? What's the biggest piece of advice you have for Victor players moving forward?
Oh, that's a really good question, actually.
It's a heavy one. Sorry, I probably should have warned you before we started recording that I was going to throw this at you.
No, I think I'll give you 2 tips. I think I've got a
Okay.
gameplay tip and a mentality tip. I think
Okay.
the gameplay tip is don't, even though you're the aggressive guardian, don't be scared to block. If you see all those the quad blue hands, don't you can block 9, send the Miller's Grindstone if the matchup is relevant for Millers. If you don't want to send the Millers, block 12. There's nothing wrong with taking a turn off and finding that space to take the game to tempo back off your opponent
Okay.
and use your pummels, use your crush the weeks and command and conquers to be ask the questions.
Hmm.
I think my mentality tip would be don't tilt when you lose a clash. It is fundamentally so annoying when you lose a clash versus Assassin, for example, versus a Syndra, for example. But most of the time, it isn't actually losing the clash that loses you the game. It's the tilt of losing it, and you end up making the wrong decision. So I think just being able to just let it go. It happens. It's card games. Move forward, and then find your way back into the game.
Your second tip. That is the best piece of advice I would give to any player about any deck, honestly. But losing a clash and I'm guilty of it. It's thrown me on tilt a few times. So yeah, no, being able to just take a breath and reset is very important. I think that's a great piece of advice. Well, Liam, thanks so much for coming on today. I appreciate you being here. It means a lot, man. And best of luck to you. And hopefully, I get to see you in Philadelphia in a few months, right?
Hopefully so. Thanks for having me.